I caught my neighbor who just so happens to be the HOA vice president, stealing my electricity to charge her Tesla. No warning, no permission, just 100-foot cord, running from my house to hers like she owned the place. But instead of confronting her, I got silent. I got smart, and I planned the kind of revenge that not only exposed her but destroyed her position of power and turned the entire neighborhood against her. You're about to hear the story of how I beat Karen at her own HOA game, and trust me, it ends with a bang. Asterisk, I live in a quiet, suburban neighborhood. The kind of place where nothing really happens, at least, not until recently. You see, we have a homeowners association, and if you've ever dealt with one, you already know the pain. Constant nitpicking, passive-aggressive notes about garbage bins, and never-ending emails about community standards. But for the most part, I kept my head down, paid my dues, and avoided trouble. Then along came Karen. Yes, her actual name is Karen, and believe me, she lives up to every inch of the stereotype. She's the self-appointed queen of the neighborhood, vice president of the HOA, and possibly the most entitled person I've ever met. Her favorite activity is walking the block with her little clipboard, pointing out violations and taking pictures of trash cans left out 10 minutes too long. Everyone hated it, but no one ever stood up to her. She loved the power, and she made sure we all knew she had it. Things really kicked off when Karen got a brand new Tesla Model Y. She made sure the entire neighborhood knew about it. She'd cruise around the block like it was a victory lap, waving smugly from behind the wheel. Suddenly, every conversation at the HOA meetings was about sustainability and embracing electric vehicles. She began pushing for mandatory EV charging stations and wanted the HOA to reimburse her for installing one. Unsurprisingly, no one voted for that, but she didn't care. Karen always found a way. About 2 weeks after she got the Tesla, I started noticing something weird. My electricity bill, which was usually pretty consistent, had suddenly spiked. At first, I chalked it up to using the AC more often, or maybe I left something running in the garage. But the next month, it doubled. I live alone. I work from home and barely use much power outside of my computer, lights, and kitchen stuff. Something wasn't right. I started investigating, turned everything off, unplugged unnecessary devices, even switched out a few bulbs just in case. Still, the bills kept climbing. So I did what any frustrated homeowner would do. I called the power company. They sent a technician out to take a look at the meter and do a quick audit. After about 45 minutes of checking, he gave me a weird look and said, "You've got an extension running somewhere. You know about that." I stared at him, confused. Extension? Like a power strip? "No," he said. "Like someone's drawing power from your side, directly from your house. It's not normal." My heart sank. Was someone actually stealing my electricity? Later that evening, I went around the outside of my house, flashlight in hand, inspecting every outlet, every corner, every inch of the property. That's when I found it, tucked discreetly between the hedges that separated my driveway from Karen's. There was a long, heavy-duty extension cord snaking its way from the side of my garage, all the way into her property. I followed it with a growing sense of disbelief until it led right into her. Tesla's charging port. Karen was literally stealing my electricity to charge her luxury electric vehicle. I stood there for a few minutes, staring at the cord like it was some kind of prank. She hadn't asked, hadn't even mentioned it, just quietly ran a cord from my outlet and plugged into my power like it was hers. And she must have been doing it for weeks, maybe even longer. That explained the insane power bills. I unplugged the cord immediately and coiled it up, throwing it into my garage. The next morning, I woke up to find a note taped to my door. It read, "It's extremely rude to remove someone's property without asking. I expect the charging cord to be returned immediately. Karen, HOA Vice President. No apology, no explanation, just entitlement. Now, if you know me, I'm not someone who jumps into confrontation, but this crossed a line. She was stealing from me, stealing electricity, and the fact that she felt entitled to it just because she was on the HOA board made my blood boil. I didn't respond to the note. Instead, I filed a police report not because I wanted to see her arrested or anything, but because I needed the situation documented in case she tried to retaliate. I also contacted the HOA president, who, surprise, surprise, was totally useless. "Let's not escalate this unnecessarily," he said. "It's probably just a misunderstanding." A misunderstanding? She ran a 100-foot cord from my house to hers, and I'm supposed to treat it like a little oopsie. But that wasn't the end of it. That evening, I got a violation notice from the HOA. Apparently, I had unauthorized storage on the side of my property, referring to the now disconnected extension cord that she had placed there. She filed a complaint against me, using the very cord she used to commit theft. At that point, I realized something had to be done. I wasn't just going to sit back and be bullied by the neighborhood tyrant. Karen had crossed the line, and I wasn't about to let her get away with it. I started documenting everything: dates, pictures, the power bills, the cord itself, and even the violation notice. I built a little folder on my computer titled Operation Tesla Justice, because if Karen thought stealing my power and hiding behind her HOA title would go unnoticed, she had another thing coming. I wasn't going to stoop to her level with petty games or fake violations. I was going to beat her with facts, evidence, and just the right amount of satisfying revenge. And trust MIT was coming. After dealing with the blatant theft of my electricity and that smug little HOA violation letter from Karen, I knew I had two options. I could either let it go and let her walk all over me, or I could get smart, calculated, and strike back where it really hurt. And if you know anything about me by now, you know I chose the second option. I started by digging deep into the HOA bylaws. Every neighborhood has a copy, and lucky for me, it's public record. It took a couple of hours and a strong cup of coffee, but by the end of that night, I had enough ammunition to start firing back legally and strategically. First thing I noticed, according to our HOA regulations, any and all modifications to shared outdoor electrical access points must be approved by the HOA board. Karen hadn't just plugged into my outlet without permission. She'd technically violated the community rules she claimed to enforce, but I wasn't going to confront her about it just yet. No, that would ruin the fun. I needed more. I kept watching her house. Every day around 6:30 p.m., she'd pull in, plug the Tesla into an outlet near her garage, and head inside. I noticed something weird. She wasn't using a proper EV charger, just a regular outdoor outlet with an adapter. Sloppy, dangerous, and more importantly, code violation. That gave me an idea, so I made a few calls. I started with the city's building inspection office. I told them completely anonymously, of course, that someone in our neighborhood was using unsafe electrical wiring to charge an electric vehicle. And since Karen never got a permit for a charging station, because she'd tried to get the HOA to pay for one and was denied, I knew there was a good chance the city had no record of her setup. They told me they'd look into it. Perfect. Next, I called the local power company again, not for another audit, but to ask about unusual neighborhood usage patterns. I phrased it carefully, just saying I had a concern that someone might be overloading the system or creating a fire hazard. That got their attention. They said they'd send someone out within the week to do a safety check on the nearby homes. The ball was rolling, but I wasn't done. Remember the HOA violation Karen filed against me about the unauthorized storage on the side of my house? Well, I decided to file a few violations of my own. Only this time, I had photo evidence. Violation number 1. She kept her trash bins on the side of her house, clearly visible from the street, for 3 days after pickup. Violation number 2. Her front yard light was broken and flickered non-stop at night. The community's lighting ordinance. Violation number 3. The cherry on top, her Tesla was regularly parked too close to the sidewalk, partially blocking it. That's a safety issue. I submitted all 3 complaints through the HOA portal, attached photos, timestamps, and quotes from the bylaws. A few days later, I received an email from the HOA. They were investigating the claims. Sweet, sweet karma. That weekend, things took an even better turn. Saturday morning, around 10 a.m., I saw a white van pull up to Karen's house. 2 men in reflective vests got out, one from the power company, the other from the city. I watched from my window like a hawk. They knocked on her door. Karen opened it, wearing her usual expression like she just smelled sour milk. They talked for about 5 minutes. Then the men walked around to the side of her garage, where her makeshift charger was plugged in. One of them took out a clipboard. The other shook his head. They were there for almost 45 minutes. Karen looked flustered. She kept pointing at things, clearly trying to talk her way out of something. Eventually, they packed up and left, and Karen slammed her front door hard enough. I heard it from across the driveway. Later that afternoon, I checked the HOA portal again. New violation notices had been issued for Karen. All 3 of mine had been accepted. She was being fined. But wait, it gets better. 2 days later, she received an official citation from the city. I know this because she stood in her driveway, screaming into her phone while waving the notice in the air, like a flag of defeat. Apparently, her charging station was deemed non-compliant and a potential fire hazard. She was ordered to stop using it immediately or face a fine of $1,000 per day. Poetic justice. And yet, she still didn't know it was me. I kept it cool, never said a word to her, just smiled politely anytime our paths crossed. But inside, oh, I was celebrating now. I'd be lying if I said revenge wasn't satisfying, but this wasn't just about getting even. It was about making a point. People like Karen think they're untouchable, that rules are for everyone else, that being in a position of tiny authority gives them the right to stomp on others. But not this time. She didn't get her free power. She didn't get her illegal charger. And she didn't get to bully me into silence. I thought that would be the end of it, that she'd lick her wounds and move on. But no, because when people like Karen lose, they don't just walk away, they retaliate. And what she did next was so insane, so over the top, that even I couldn't believe it. She declared war, and that, my friends, is where this story takes a turn from petty revenge to full-on neighborhood warfare. I thought I had one. I mean, come on, I got her fined by the city, slapped with 3 HOA violations, and forced to stop charging her Tesla with my stolen electricity. Anyone else would have cut their losses and moved on. But not Karen. She wasn't just mad, she was furious. And when people like her get embarrassed, they don't back off. They double down. It started subtly at first. My mailbox started filling up with anonymous complaint letters, printed, not handwritten, and always unsigned. They said things like, "Your weeds are out of control," or "Your car is an eyesore and doesn't fit the image of the community." The weird thing, my yard was immaculate. My car was a clean, silver SUV, nothing unusual. But the complaints kept coming. One day, there were 4 different letters stuffed in at once. Clearly someone was trying to create a paper trail. Then came the noise complaints. I work from home, so I keep things quiet. But somehow, the HOA got 2 separate reports that I was playing loud music in the middle of the night. I had to explain myself during an HOA call, and when I asked who filed the complaints, they said it was confidential. Sure, it was. One afternoon, I walked out to find a sticker slapped across my garage door. "This home is under HOA review for compliance." It looked official, but it wasn't. The font was slightly off, and there was no signature or reference number. I peeled it off, and brought it to the HOA president, who admitted it wasn't from them, meaning Karen was forging fake notices and posting them on my property. At that point, I'd had enough. If she wanted war, she'd get it. But this time, I wouldn't just hit back, I'd end it. Permanently. I went full detective mode. I started documenting everything again. I bought a pair of discreet outdoor security cameras and installed them near my garage and mailbox. Within days, I had footage of Karen wearing a hoodie and sunglasses. No less, walking up to my house at 6:15 a.m. and stuffing complaint letters into my mailbox. Not just once. Multiple days in a row. Even better. I caught her walking over and placing that fake under review sticker on my garage door. Boom. Evidence. But I wasn't done. Remember how she's the vice president of the HOA? I decided to find out exactly how she got that role. Turns out, she ran unopposed during a virtual meeting where only 5 people showed up. 5 out of a 40-home neighborhood. So I made a plan. I printed flyers and went door to door around the block, politely asking neighbors how they felt about the HOA. I didn't even mention. Karen at first just asked if they were happy with how things were run. Most people were either annoyed or just didn't care anymore because of all the drama. Then, I showed them the footage of Karen stuffing letters in my mailbox and vandalizing my door. That changed everything. I proposed a simple idea. Let's organize and vote her out to do that. We needed a minimum of 15 households to sign a petition calling for a special meeting to remove a board member. Within 48 hours, I had 19 signatures. We submitted the petition formally to the HOA president. He was stunned, but couldn't argue with the rules. The meeting was scheduled for the following week. Karen didn't take it well. She started going door to door herself, spinning wild stories about how I was attacking her and spreading lies. But no one was buying it. Not after they'd seen the video evidence. Her support crumbled fast. At the meeting, it wasn't even close. By a 17-3 vote, Karen was officially removed from the HOA board. She stormed out in the middle of the vote, yelling about lawsuits and defamation and libel. Yeah, good luck with that. But there was one more thing I wanted to do just to tie a nice little bow on everything with Karen officially out. I proposed a new rule to the HOA board. Any homeowner caught illegally tapping into a neighbor's utilities would face a $2,500 fine, an immediate legal referral. It passed unanimously. And then I did one final thing. Remember that police report I filed at the beginning? I followed up, submitted my camera footage, and gave them the updated documentation. They paid Karen a visit not to arrest her, but to warn her that any further harassment could result in criminal charges. After that, she stopped completely. No more fake letters. No more violations. No more smug attitude. She started keeping to herself, barely even leaving her house. Her Tesla sat in the driveway, uncharged, collecting dust like a paperweight of failure. I won. And I didn't just win by getting revenge, I won by using her own playbook against her. But better, smarter, legally. Here's the thing. Some people think getting even means doing something petty or stooping to someone's level. But the real satisfaction comes from watching them fall on their own sword, because you stayed calm, collected, and played the long game. And in the end, that's what really got her. So HOA Karen stole my power to charge her Tesla. But I took everything back, and then some. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the story, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with your favorite part or your own crazy HOA nightmare story. I read every one. Stay safe, stay smart, and remember, never mess with someone who knows how to read a contract.